What's up everybody, Nameless Co out here with another video, and today we have a car that's not mine. It's actually my neighbor Simon's car, and it's a really cool Volvo V70 T5. He got inspired by my 850R, which is parked directly across the street from his house, and he went out and picked this up as his first car. It's really cool, so we're gonna take you guys through it.
I'm Simon, and this is my Volvo V70 T5 1998. So I'm 15 and I was looking to get my first car. I wanted a 90s wagon, but I also wanted something that was a little bit sporty and fun. So this is what I came across, and I was really inspired by Zev's 850R because I saw that on the street, and I wanted something not exactly the same but similar. And this is what I got. It's from Pennsylvania. It was originally bought at auction and it came from Virginia, and I shipped it out to Mill Valley, where it is now. So this car has 155,000 miles, which is considered pretty low for how old it is, and I picked it up for around $6,500, which is around average for what it is, but you can definitely pick one up for lower or a little bit more expensive if you're looking for one with lower miles. So let's get into some of my favorite features and drive it around.
All right, Simon, so what's some of your favorite things about this car?
Some of my favorite things about the V70 are overall how it looks. I love that it has the spoiler on it, which is a factory option, so I'm glad the original owner, and this is also a one owner car, which is something that was a big selling point to me, and the original owner opted for this factory option, which makes it look very streamlined. I also love how it sounds. The T5, as you've heard in the earlier videos from the 850R, sounds incredible and it's super unique. And also, I'm a big fan of the color and the paint job. I'm very happy that overall there's not many spots where the paint is clear, peeling off, besides like a little bit right here, the clear coat. But overall, the paint job is also pretty immaculate for how old it is.
So one of the main reasons we wanted to film with this car today, besides for the fact that it's a great, beautiful looking V70, which not a lot of them look this good, is because they're really easy to get into. A lot of people, finding an 850R, which is what's going to be featured on the channel a lot, which is my personal car, it's a lot harder to find one of those, and a lot harder to find a clean one of those. You guys can get into a clean V70 T5 like this one for even close to like $3-4 grand, because you don't need one that's necessarily this clean. This is a particularly rare example with how clean it is, but you guys could get like a silver one with even 100,000 miles without the spoiler, without some of the nicer packages, for like $2,000, $3,000, and it's just a very good entry-level car that also is really fun to drive, because as we'll show you, you guys probably would have seen from that little edit we made, this motor is basically the same exact motor as in my 850R. It doesn't have a tune. more of a performance tune or a little bit of a more high compression turbo, but it's basically the same motor, and you can do all those mods to the car to make it even faster than an 850R. But it's a great motor, it's a reliable motor. It's honestly probably more reliable than an 850R because it's not as highly tuned, and it's just an all-around great car. It drives very well, it's a great daily driver, it's very practical, you can fit a bunch of stuff in it, but it's still not as big as your modern day wagons, which are a lot more boaty than this is, and it has the beautiful turbo 5-cylinder sound, so you really can't beat it. So that's kind of the main reason why we wanted to show you guys this car and say that, yeah, these V70s are a really cool option, and they're also the last generation. This is a P2 generation of Volvo, and they're like the last boxy generation you can get, which is really cool because they are a bit more modern than an 850, but not quite as rounded out as sorry, I misspoke. This is a P1. I was getting confused. A P2 is what Flynn's V70R was. And that car, it looks amazing, it looks great, but it's a lot more rounded out. These P1s are a lot more boxy and still look really good. And we'll get into a few little things that are different. Well, one of the main things that's different about this car than the 850R is, as you guys can see, the side trim and the front and rear bumpers, they're all color matched. So arguably that sometimes actually looks better than having the black bumpers. So that's kind of a cool touch on this car. But we're gonna get into a few more reasons why you guys should consider looking at a V70 T5.
As Zev previously mentioned, I actually used to own a P2 V70R in a 6-speed manual, and when I first heard that Simon got this V70, I was actually really happy, especially to drive it, because I had driven Zev's 850R, so comparing that to the V70 honestly wasn't much different. Now, I know it does have a smaller turbo and it isn't as quick, but off the line you can really feel the white block kick in at low RPM, which is really nice for a daily driver and just a fun sporty wagon if you want to just go have fun in the back roads. Now, comparing the engine bay to my V70R, it's very similar, but you do see the turbo routing kind of a little bit different. We have the airbox on the right, and the battery is right up front over the front driver's side wheel. Now, I think in some cases people do lighter weight batteries. Now, that doesn't really matter because obviously this is Simon's daily driver, but in terms of like a car that you could build and you can make really fast and handle really well, these are great options, especially since it does look a bit modern, but it's not too modern like a V70R is. I really love the body lines of the P1. Now, if I was to ever consider getting another V70R, I would highly consider a P1 V70R, which is basically just one step above this, that's all-wheel drive, and then like Zev mentioned, a higher compression turbo along with that tune. So I think that's going to cover all the bases on the performance side of things. Now, I think we should go get in this car and start driving it and really see how it opens up.
So Simon tossed over the keys. Now I'm about to go drive the car. I have driven this car before, but I want to give you guys a little comparison just from somebody who's very familiar with Volvos, especially the older Volvos, and especially 850s and the 850R in particular, what this drives like in comparison and just how it drives in general. So let's go take it out for a little drive. Nope. All right, guys, so we're about to hop on the freeway right now, and I'm gonna see how it pulls and gets up to speed, because I actually haven't really done a proper pull in this car before. I'm very familiar with the 850R and how that pulls, so I'm gonna be curious to see how a more base level Volvo does. So let's do it right now. Wow, that's actually really impressive. That's a lot faster than I was expecting it to be. It's not quite the 850R. It does take a little bit longer to get up to speed, but it pulls surprisingly hard. I would consider this to be definitely a fast car by almost anyone's standards. Obviously, if you're used to crazy fast modern cars, it's going to feel slow, but this is actually a really impressive platform. And I own an M3 too, which is like an E46 M3, which is considered, I mean, some people consider it slow, but it's a pretty fast car, and this feels properly fast. Like, I was really surprised right there, especially pulling through, I guess it probably would have been second gear. It felt really impressive. So we're about to get onto a bit more of a twisty road right now, but just before we get onto that, one of the things I'm noticing about this car is I think the steering is actually tighter than my 850, which is surprising because you'd think the older cars would have a bit tighter steering, because generally with cars, the more modern they get, a little bit looser and more electrified the steering gets. But this is obviously still hydraulic steering, and it's actually pretty impressive. It's a lot tighter than I expected. It's almost like BMW-esque. Like, I had a 540i back in the day, E39 540i, and the steering's actually very similar to that, just to give you guys some reference if you're familiar with that chassis. But we're about to get into some corners, so let's see what this is about. Alright, so just first impressions. Obviously it is a Volvo from the 90s, so it's not going to handle like a sports car, but it is still a sports wagon, so it handles surprisingly well, but it's still that boaty feel, which is honestly a good thing though, because if you're dailying this car, you don't want the suspension to be too stiff. It still handles really well. You can still hit a corner with plenty of speed. It obviously is front wheel drive still, so it does pull you around corners pretty well. But yeah, like, we're going in a little bit more of a tight one right now. A little pull out. Oh, damn. When that kicks, that's fast. Here, let's do a little pull up this hill and we'll see. Okay, that's actually really fast. That's very, very, very impressive. I'm like kind of getting blown away by this car right now. I was not expecting too much coming into it, just because I was thinking, okay, an 850R is a performance model. This is honestly, if I had to guess, maybe like 15 horsepower less, or that's at least what it feels like. It maybe feels 10 to 15 less. It is surprisingly fast, and it does handle. It's not quite as stiff. I think the 850R does have a bit stiffer suspension, but it still handles extremely well for being a car from the 90s, and I doubt the suspension was replaced. It's probably original. So I'm actually blown away by the suspension and the way it handles. Like I said, don't expect it to handle like a sports car. It's still a 90s wagon, but it handles a lot better than you'd expect. And I think anybody that gets one of these and does a pull in it will be very impressed with how fast it is. You honestly wouldn't expect it. And obviously this has the looks to go with the speed, but a lot of the other ones, like just the base silver ones without the spoilers, without the nice red paint job, pull just as hard as this one does. So these are actually quite the sleepers, and you can make them a lot faster than they are from the factory.
Well, thank you guys for watching the video, and I'd just like to talk about some of my future plans for this car. And some of the things I want to do are new suspension, because the suspension's still pretty good, but obviously it's the original suspension, so I'm going to want to swap that out. Also, a new air intake, and the IPD RIP kit, which is the reverse intercooler piping kit, is something that I want to put in it. Also, sway bars, just to make it feel like a bit less of a boat, like as you guys saw through some of those turns up there. Sway bars could just decrease that a little bit. And also just something that would improve the aesthetics of the car is just a little bit of tint. I think I'm going to do like 25 all around, can make it look really clean.
Thank you guys for making it to the end of another Nameless Co video. We had an awesome time filming with Simon's V70, and it was cool for Zev and I to film this video because we've never really been in a video together, so it kind of made for some fun interacting and just a good time all around.
Yeah, so you can definitely be expecting quite a bit of Simon's car on the channel here and there because he does have some really tasteful mods coming for it. We will probably be doing a build update once he has some of those mods on the car, and maybe even doing some installation videos with him, because obviously he's my next door neighbor. He can come right over to Flynn's house and we can make those cool installation videos you guys know us for. So that's probably gonna wrap it up for this video. We hope you guys enjoyed, and maybe even consider buying a V70 after this, because they really are a great car, and especially at the price point, you can't beat the fun, the good looks, and the reliability of them. So we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.